Today I'll be making a short documentary feature on public banking.
Here we are in Lansing, Michigan, in front of the state capitol, a particularly appropriate place for a discussion of state banking. We're actually in a depression here in Michigan. So your third alternative is to create a bank.
This is a recording Ellen Brown did in 2010 during the Great Recession. Ellen is the founder of Public Banking Institute. Now, what is public banking, you might ask?
In this city, in anywhere USA, the residents of this city have decided they want a park. The city council agrees the park is a great idea. But how will they pay for it? The city needs to borrow money. But borrowing money means the city has to pay a lot more money in interest and fees that could double the cost of the park. And that money leaves the city. It goes to Wall Street investors who really don't care about the park or the city at all. This is a bad deal for the city and its residents. There's a much better option, an option that's been proven around the world. A public bank.
While the idea of public banking may seem new, it's not. And during the time period between 2009 and 2011, many states went into financial contraction, except for one.
So your third alternative is to create a bank, because banks actually create money on their books. That is where our money supply comes from. You would repay the loan. So there are many ways in which you could create projects that are funded through credit to get the economy going again, which is what Michigan and many other states desperately need at this time, because they aren't able to do what they really need to do. They need to do more than that to get things flowing again in the economy. There's only one state at the moment that actually owns its own bank. That's North Dakota. The Bank of North Dakota returns a 25% dividend to the state. So it's actually a huge moneymaker for the state.
Hi, you're listening to the YouTube edition of In Context. This is Ken McDermott Rowe.
And this is Gus Cantavero. Today we're going to be talking about public banking.
The idea is pretty simple. States will use their own funds as the reserve to create a new bank. And the bank that's owned by the state will make loans to promote infrastructure growth and business development within their own states. And it's very important business to get into for the states, because during this terrible economic recession we're in, it's all about cut, cut, cut. And we need to think of creatively about new ways to grow our economy. And this seems to be a good way to do that.
How is this different than what the banks already do?
There's only one state in the country, the Bank of North Dakota, which has been involved in state banking since 1919, that has such an institution. Mm-hmm. And it's operated very successfully there as for almost a century. And in North Dakota, it's important to note that they have a very low unemployment rate, and that they a budget which is one of the few state budgets which is in balance. So it's worked very effectively there for a century. And the tradition actually goes back to colonial times of state-owned banks, back to Pennsylvania. They had a state-owned bank, and it was championed by Benjamin Franklin, who attributed Pennsylvania's prosperity in the 18th century to the fact that Pennsylvania issued its own loans to create business development in that Commonwealth.
Yeah, ball. Yeah. There is one simple reason young entrepreneur Cam Holt decided to return to his hometown of Williston, North Dakota: money.
A lot of activity, a lot of opportunity for people like myself to get a jump start on life.
That jump start occurs behind the counter of Three Amigos Grill, where, since he set up shop in 2011,
here you go, thank you,
business has boomed.
I got out here and realized it's on one of the busiest locations in probably the busiest town in the United States.
But despite the best circumstances, oil boom,
Everything on it?
high demand for restaurants, ideal location, getting Three Amigos off the ground and running was not a sure thing.
Banks typically don't like to lend on restaurants because there isn't really any hard assets into the loan that they give.
But this is not a typical part of the country.
Big fajita rice and beans.
And Holt concedes he's in business today because of one institution.
We might not have got the loan if it wasn't for the Bank of North Dakota.
The Bank of North Dakota, founded in 1919 to help control lending rates for farmers, is the only state-owned and operated bank in the country.
All across the country, from Maine to Hawaii, Alaska to Florida, California to New York, people are taking back their power from Wall Street by calling for public banks. Ever since Ellen Brown reintroduced the idea of public banking to the United States in 2011, the idea has inspired more and more people.
So it would behoove our state and local governments to set up their own banks right now, just if only to keep their deposits safe and leverage your funds into credit for your local community.
And as of October 2019, California decided to set up its own public bank, and New Jersey is considering one too.